Hello, Read 585, and welcome to week 9. This week we start a new unit. We are moving on from talking about database decision making, assessments, and all that good stuff to looking at professional learning, also called professional support. And you might notice this is a divergence from our course syllabus, so I want to talk to you about that. But first, share the good news that at this time, assignment 2, part 2 is done. So kudos to you. Thanks for all your hard work on that. There's just one more part to this very substantial assignment, as well as the coaching activity that happens in our last unit, and that's it for the big assignments in this course. So congrats on having that behind you. So now let's look at the syllabus and the change I've decided to make. I'm going to be reordering the units because I think this will be a better progression of the assignments. So initially we were doing grant writing this week and then doing providing professional learning, but I've decided to flip-flop these things. So we're going to do professional learning now and then do grant writing before moving into literacy coach as instructional coach. And I think it'll make more sense for these assignments instead of having you write a grant application now, moving that down until we've talked about professional learning and you've finished part 3 of assignment 2, you can then create a grant that will support, or not create a grant, but research and find a grant that would support the need and the next steps you determine for your school site in part 3. So in my head, this makes more sense. So that's what we're going to do. But let's talk about what this is going to do to your upcoming weeks and assignments. So approaches to quality professional learning just got bumped up from week 10 to week 9. This is all the same. And then professional learning communities got bumped up from week 11 to week 10. Now, this is where part 3 was due in week 11. And so I'm going to keep it due in week 11 and not, move up the deadline on you. So it's still due week 11, but instead of having a participation activity in week 9 and week 10 and then part 3 due, you can't do this participation activity until you've done the learning on grant writing. And so for that reason, you're going to have a participation activity here as well as assignment 2, part 3. But I'm going to reduce the amount of work this is. Instead of being a full grant application, it will just be you researching a grant to find and talking about what you would apply for and why. So this won't be as extensive as it was going to be. So don't worry about that. And then part 3 will still be due week 11. But again, we're going to be doing professional learning for the next 2 weeks, then grant writing, because I know that is a hot topic out there that was not actually in the course previously. And that was feedback from last semester, as well as a lot of questions you asked in week 1 when you saw that grant writing is one of the many hats that the reading specialist wears. So I want to definitely keep that in the course or put it in the course, but it will be coming up in a few weeks. So hopefully that makes sense and you understand the change that is being made there. All right, this week you have 4 things to read. First, chapter 10 of Walpole and McKenna, which talks about providing professional support. Then we have an article implementing a school-wide literacy framework. This is geared more toward the elementary level. And then we have a content area teacher article for the secondary level. And then lastly, building teacher capacity and raising student achievement, which kind of bridges the conversation of using data to then inform professional learning. So kind of bridging our 2 units that are, the unit we just finished into the new unit. So this one's real short, just a few pages. So that's what you're doing for reading this week. And then we have a different format for our participation activity this week. We're not going to be doing a discussion forum. Instead, what I have for you is a case study. So there is a scenario that is provided in the week 9 block of Titanium, and it is about an elementary school called Turning Tree, specifically looking at the student performance data in grades 3 through 6 and how the school, is making an action plan based off of some alarming data that they have. So similar to the work that you're doing right now for part 2, part 3, part 1 as well. So what you need to do is open up this scenario. It's provided in a Word doc. And then as you read through it, you're going to jot down your initial impressions for what they did well and what they didn't do as well. And then there are 10 questions or categories, and you're going to give them a rating 1 through 5 and provide a rationale as to why you gave them that rating. But the way you're going to be submitting this is through SurveyMonkey. So I'm going to email you to your Fullerton account a specific link that is unique to you, and you're going to go to that link, and then you're going to compile, or you're going to transfer your ratings and then your rationale. So let me show you this Word document so you can see better what I'm talking about here. So here's the scenario. So below is an imagined scenario for a possible literacy initiative in an elementary school that you're now going to be evaluating, which, as we know, evaluation is the highest level on Bloom's taxonomy. So I'm really stretching your cognitive thinking skills this week. But you need to read this scenario carefully. And after you've studied it, you're going to rate the effectiveness on 10 different indicators as to, how they approached their professional learning and need for intervention. And you're going to be doing this in the SurveyMonkey. So a couple pages about Turning Tree, right? And then actually at the very end of the document is just a very simple, 3-column grid here where you can jot down as you do your initial reading what was effective, what was less effective, and what was your reasoning. So this is just a note-taking sheet you could utilize as you read through the scenario. But these are the 10 different things you're going to rate them. Now, a rating of 1 is very poor decision making, as in this is causing more problems for the school and the people who work there. A 2 is somewhat ineffective, and a 3 is neither effective or ineffective, so neutral. 4 is effective and appropriate decision making, and 5 means that these solutions are highly effective and highly appropriate to the situation. This is great stuff that, things you should model your decisions after. So, you're going to look at the school leadership team and how they identified students' needs, give a rating on that, so what was the process they followed to determine the needs of the students, and was that the most effective approach to decision making? Rate them 1 through 5, give a little rationale. Now, because this is going to be in lieu of a discussion forum, in the rationale you provide should be some mention of our ratings from this week. So in order to do well on this participation activity, I'm going to be looking for, have you done the readings? Have you viewed the lectures? Are you citing these materials here in your sources? You don't need to cite colleagues, obviously, because you don't have access to their responses. You're just going to be referencing our course materials, okay? And then what you're going to do is, copy paste your rating to the SurveyMonkey as well as your rationale. All right, so let's go back to this slideshow. That is your participation activity. Thought I'd change it up for you, do something a little bit different. That is the only thing due this week, with a reminder that assignment 2 part 3 is going to be due November 7th, which is the same deadline as before. It is in 3 weeks, so you'll want to preview the assignment materials so you know what that looks like. All right, resources on Titanium. All right, join me back for part 2 of our lecture where we talk about different approaches to quality professional learning.